HVAC 360, episode number 15, HVAC and social media. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of HVAC 360. I am your host, Matt Nelson. This week, I have the pleasure of talking to John Sonnhalter, owner of Sonnhalter. And we talked to John, he's a marketing specialist, and we talked to John a little bit about social media and how it relates to the HVAC industry. John has done a particularly good job of being able to connect, being out there, being visible, and I just wanted to get his sense from a marketing standpoint exactly what we could do in the HVAC industry. We always seem to be behind the times and not necessarily with it or up to date. But if there is a few tips that we can leave you, then it's all worth it. So here's my interview with John talking about social media. We're talking today with John Sonnhalter. John is the owner of Sonnhalter. Hi, how you doing, John?
I'm fine. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing great. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been doing this for about 35 years. Got a degree in marketing, and 35 years ago, I was in an unrelated business, and I saw the need in the advertising marketing arena to go after the industrial contractor type of marketplace. Back then and even today, people don't think that hydraulic fittings and hand tools and boilers are very sexy things, but we kind of have a warped sense of humor, but we think they're pretty sexy. So we've been focusing on the manufacturing sector of the marketplace, and specifically, we've been trying to target our efforts for manufacturers who want to go after the professional tradesmen.
Excellent. Yeah, I see that same industry being underserved. I don't get it personally, but I would totally agree with you that there definitely is that marketplace. So
yeah, well.
Now talk a little bit about you're involved pretty heavily in social media. How would you, from a personal standpoint, describe social media?
Well, it's a place where you can meet and share information with and help other people that have the same interest that you do, and probably may not have otherwise met. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to bring yourself up as a thought leader in your category. I have a blog, tradesmaninsights.com, that focuses on primarily social media and how manufacturers can use it, but I also address other manufacturing and user issues. The blog has created a tremendous amount of interest, inquiries, and we've gotten some business from it as far away from Australia. A couple of years ago when I started it. So it's a great opportunity, and again, it's just another marketing tool in the toolbox that you use, and you try to integrate that with your other things. But it's new and exciting, and I'm trying to. One of my goals is to try to educate these manufacturers that it's not a scary thing. You can't break it. You just try it.
So So what do you think the primary, is it just because it's new? I mean, is that they haven't tried it, or do you think they're lacking some basic skills, some basic knowledge that it's a little bit too scary, or it's a fad?
Well, I think it's really a combination of all of it. No one likes change. One, two, these contractors when it comes to technology. I mean, if you're not a techie kind of guy or a girl, that's kind of scary. And they still think that some of the stuff is going to be a fad, and trust me, there's just too many people in the system for it to be a fad anymore. and you need to understand things. I tell folks, that they should get their hands dirty, get into something, try it, and work slowly. You don't have to. One of probably the biggest misnomers or misunderstood things is Twitter. And Twitter is if it's used properly, it's like a mini blog, and if you have the right audience, it can really generate a lot of leads for you. LinkedIn and Twitter are probably my two best sources of hits and page views for my blog, but you have to be able to use it right.
Right. Now, when you look at the landscape of social media, what are the big continents of companies out there? I mean, obviously you have the Facebook that they made a movie of that already. You have LinkedIn, Twitter. Are there any other social media outlets that you found valuable that people might take a look at?
Well, the YouTube is next to Google search. YouTube is the most active site up there, and contractors should be using those type of things for testimonials. They should be using those kind of things for showing the benefits of a new, high efficiency heater or whatever. I mean, there are ways of doing that. Blogs and forums, depending on how the activity is. A blog takes a lot of time for a contractor to do, but yet on a forum, HVAC Talk, for example, in your marketplace is a very active, very good forum. They get a lot of play, a lot of interaction. Contractors should be on that and participating. And probably the newest thing on the wavelengths right now is this Google Plus, and if Google's involved, I mean, they're still shaking out as to who, what, where, when. But Google Plus will be as big as Facebook and a good tool down the road. I can't remember. I think it's like 15 or 20 million people have signed up for it in the first month or so. So I mean, there's reasons for you should be doing that kind of thing. So YouTube forums and Google Plus has some good potential.
Now, I guess, tell me a little bit more about Google Plus, because I frankly haven't heard about it. I've heard of the other things that Google has tried to do, but what is Google Plus? What is the angle on Google Plus?
Well, it's similar to Facebook, but it goes more toward the business. You can have circles of friends. You can categorize people in different ways. There's a profile up there, so that if you put up there, John Sonholder, I'm a marketing expert in this kind of marketplace. Well, anytime that you search Google and my name comes up or Sonholder comes up, if you scroll across it, it'll give the readers two things. It'll give them a quick profile of who you are and what you do, and it gives you the option then to move through. And there's circles of friends. You can build lists of friends, personal friends, family, acquaintances, business contacts, and it's another way, like LinkedIn, to be able to communicate with those folks back and forth. So I mean, it's not hard. If you Google Plus, there are some great ways up there to get you started and get you looked at. Not complicated, but again, you should fill out a profile form, because again, anytime you or your company is mentioned, if you scroll across it, it'll give a brief description of who you are and be able to link. So it's coming. It's coming. Again, the jury's still out, but everything I've read from the social media gurus, they're saying that don't take it lightly. Again, Google just hadn't thought this is a neat idea and started it. They've got a plan. So.
Yeah, I can see how you integrate. Once you integrate it into search, it really becomes, since Google is such a dominant player in the search field.
Everything revolves around search.
So,
especially on the internet.
So, I mean, typically, you used to have a company. They would, first they would fight having a web page, and then they'd have a web page, and it would have basically how to contact them, maybe what they did. Now the next evolution that came was having a blog, so you could actually, put some more kind of talkative points and some more informative points on your website. Now you're coming in with the the Twitters, the Facebooks, the LinkedIn. Now, I guess going through each of those, what for Facebook, what's really the value in Facebook? Typically a lot of people would associate that with people I went to high school with or college with, and it's just kind of a hey, what am I doing today? Or what, hey, I saw this neat video, and it's very much a personal. It seems like a personal thing. How can businesses really get into using like Facebook?
Well, Facebook is, from a consumer standpoint, if you're an HVAC contractor, every time, the more people that you have following you and likes you, there are ways that you can communicate things. Not necessarily that you have $25 off a spring cleaning or a winter roundup or whatever, but you can give them tips about what to do. And every time you go up in your Facebook account, and you should probably, from a business standpoint, do only business stuff. Don't mix HVAC stuff, or if you're a contractor, or things about heating your home or air conditioning your home or whatever, with your son's 5th birthday party. So you should keep it pretty much strictly business. But for those folks that like you and follow you, every time that you post something, those folks get a message from you. What a great way! Again, and the more people you have on there, from a consumer standpoint, if you're in Cleveland, Ohio, all right, all you care about are folks in your trading area. I mean, you don't want to become friends with people in Chicago because you can't service Chicago. So, part of your marketing effort, whether it be in on your website or on other things that you do, is hey, follow us on LinkedIn or follow us on Facebook, and get folks to say, gee, I may need a heating and cooling guy. I'm gonna follow him again, and give them good information. Don't be out selling all the time, but give them good information. And Facebook would be a good way for you to do that. LinkedIn is another good way. Again, for HVAC contractors, Facebook would be good for the residential side. LinkedIn would be great for residential, but more importantly for the business side. There are groups that you can form your own group on LinkedIn. And what people miss the boat is HVAC guy goes to a local Rotary meeting. All right, he introduces himself. Everybody does the traditional card passing. All right. So what does that guy do when he's done? He may go back in, and if he's really good, he thinks he'll put it in his contact, his Microsoft Outlook or wherever he's got. All right. Good. So I got your information in my contact. What the hell are you going to do with it? If you went back and send a note to Matt Nelson and say, hey, Matt, it's great meeting you at the local Rotary thing, and say something about what you guys talked about. I love to get LinkedIn with you. Bingo. LinkedIn. Every time you send out a note with LinkedIn, again, it's a way of being able to basically do like an e-blast, if you will, to everybody who you're linked in with. So you can be telling and promoting your company as a thought leader in, again, HVAC, for example, to all these folks that have been pre-qualified. So it's a very good way from a business standpoint, LinkedIn to me is probably the most underutilized tool for businesses. They also have groups up on LinkedIn. Let me see. I've got a couple names here someplace, but HVAC professionals. There's a group up there for HVAC professionals, so they can talk to other HVAC professionals. There's one for wholesalers for HVAC. You can talk back and forth with distributors and see what they're talking about. There are all kinds of good ways to use LinkedIn.
Now, and that's kind of, that would be my take as well. I mean, I think if you're talking, B2C, business to consumer, I think Facebook might be more advantageous. Whereas if you're looking for professional to professional, you're looking to communicate, between you and owners even, or you and other professionals. I think LinkedIn, at least to me, that's how I feel that it's going to be most useful. So,
right.
So where does Twitter come in?
Twitter comes in. I use Twitter predominantly because I've got a blog, and I've got about 400 posts that are already on the blog. I've been doing it for a couple of years, and the Twitter issue is that the life of a tweet. They've studied it, and the life of a tweet is about 20 minutes. So if you don't see that within the first 20 minutes, chances are you don't see it. So there are tools out there, automated tools that you can use to literally tweet all the time, and you don't have to physically go up and tweet. I am on Twitter 24/7, 365, every hour on the hour. And I'm tweeting, but I'm tweeting automated tweet that I shake up my best posts that are not time sensitive, and those things are used to get things going. So if you have a blog, there are some tools out there that are very good in being able to help you manage some of these social programs. Hootsuite is one. To manage a tweet deck is what I just talked to you about. There are other cloud social score, but Hootsuite is a great way for you to monitor things. The tweet deck is again a management tool to help you to manage and schedule and monitor things. So Twitter is not for everybody. I would suggest, and for your listeners, I would start out small. Go Facebook, not hard to set up, and again, it's just a matter of focusing on things. LinkedIn, I think it's a gotta have for anybody who's in business, and make sure that you use it properly. And again, Google Plus is not hard to set up. Try it. I mean, you can't break any of these things. But it's just a matter of, you get out of social media what you put into it. It's just like anything else. You just can't set up an account. The key is being able to network with the right kind of people. From a Facebook standpoint, in your trading area, the more people you meet, the more people you want to, that they own a house, they're a potential customer of yours. So the more people you can get to like when you send messages out, the more eyes are going to see that. From a LinkedIn standpoint, same issue. You want to get the business professionals in your trading area, but you also want to be known maybe in your peer circles as expert in a certain area. So I would use those two first, Google Plus third, and then start getting into Twitter little by little. Most of the contractors, again, you want a regional, local play for this, and Twitter may not be the best avenue.
So no, when we get to a personal level, I know that I've had a couple of people come up to me and say, "Hey, you know what? What are you using?" It tends to be some of the more seasoned people that approach me, and they're like, I would mention LinkedIn. They're like, you know what? It's they can put their information in there, but what are they getting out of it? It's so you really have to. What are some specific ways that you can say use LinkedIn that really makes it something more than just, hey, you know what, I went there, updated my profile, and that's all I did. I haven't touched it since. What things can you do to stay active, to actually get some value on a professional level?
Well, the key is you have to build a network of people that you're linked in with. So you should be constantly building these things all the time. What I tell folks up front is, again, go to your Microsoft contact, whatever contact database you have. Go through those folks and invite them to join you on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a search box. Put in John Sonnhalter, and all the John Sonnhalters of the world, and I don't think there can't be that many of us, will appear. And if you know me, you can invite me. Hey, John, we're in the same association. We're in the same Rotary Club. Blah blah blah. I want to invite you to join in. You do that, you get a base going. All right, and I would be surprised if a business owner, if he did that, would not have 100 to 200 folks relatively quickly in his LinkedIn. As he goes out and he meets people, business people, or even when he goes out on user calls to his residents, give them the card, and they should have, here's my Facebook, here's my LinkedIn, and talk to them about it. And again, after you have a call on somebody from a Facebook standpoint, send them an invite. Hey, I like to have you. If she or he is on Facebook, get on there. Same way with LinkedIn. Once you build the list, again, in a Microsoft database, you never use that list very often. Whereas if I'm one of those 300 people or 200 people that you're linked in with, every time I put a message out, those 300 people get that message. That's the only people that get that message. So you're doing an e-blast, if you will, via social media. So getting the list doesn't mean anything if you're not trying to communicate with it. Social, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever, you're trying to be social. You're trying to interact with people. Well, if you don't act, how can you interact? So you've got to do something. And again, you don't have to put up 14 messages a day, but on LinkedIn, for example, there should be 3 or 4 activities during the course of the week. And again, it doesn't have to be all selling stuff. It could be things about the community, things about helpful hints about this. It could be an interesting article from a national perspective on green or on whatever SEER. I mean, it something that the audience could use. Don't put stuff up there that has no value. But again, you got to be able to use it. You got to be able to be social in order for people to engage with you, and that's the whole key. And you've got to spend some time with it. If you do Facebook and you do LinkedIn, what I tell folks is spend 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day, not all at one time. I'm a morning person, but I normally come in early in the morning. I check my Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and my blog and see what activity it is. And then during the course of the day, I'll may check Facebook and LinkedIn 1 or 2 other times. It's going to take you 5 minutes to do that. Then, again, a couple times a week, put something out there that's meaningful. And contrary, if someone that linked in with you sent out a message that you have expertise on, or you can comment on and actually add some value, go back to them. Again, they're trying to engage you in things. And by you engaging, it does a couple things. One, it helps set you up as the expert in your field, but also every time that your name goes out there or your company name goes out there, I mean, there's more chances for search to pick you up. So, again, it's just like a website. long time ago, everybody thought, if I build a website, they will come. Well, people build a website and they didn't come because you didn't try to promote it, so on and so forth. And what social does is it doesn't wait for somebody to come. You have the opportunity to go out to a select number of people on both Facebook and LinkedIn. You can on Facebook you can set privacy settings. So again, not everybody can come in. You want to keep to that group, or and LinkedIn. That's kind of a closed system. If you don't link in as a friend, they can't get to you. But I would say 30 to 45 minutes a day, max. But and the key there is again, just don't think of social as this little standalone tactic. It's got to be used in everything else that you do from a marketing standpoint.
Okay. Now,
that makes sense?
Absolutely. No, and I think the only thing I would add is some things I've recommended is, just get involved with groups like you've mentioned before. Just that's, on a professional level. That way you can, because they'll send out, emails for, new discussions that are happening.
Every day. Absolutely. And people, what I got, a contractor, what am I going to talk about? Well, I don't want to sell, and I keep telling people don't sell. You can set up a Google Reader account, and there are the Google Reader account for those folks who don't know. It's a page where you can consolidate, like if you subscribe on an RSS feed to a number of newsletters or a number of blogs. It's a place where it's a one page where everything comes to, and it's consolidated on one page. And when you're going in the morning to look at the Google Reader, it'll give you all the things that you're following. Well, as a contractor, you can subscribe to several different either blogs and or news feeds by items that might relate to HVAC. And you can then say, gee, here's an interesting article from USA Today on green or on this. It might be interesting. It's appropriate to your industry. Take that and make your comment and give them a link to that to that article. So you don't have to have original content all the time, but it's a way of keeping your name in front of people all the time. And the Google Reader is just a way to help you manage, if you will, all the things that you're going to read, whether it's again the USA Today or whether it's a blog from an HVAC or Hardy or whatever.
Now, how would you recommend people handling, with LinkedIn? It's pretty obvious. If you know somebody, just connect. What if you don't know somebody? What if it's somebody?
Well, if you with LinkedIn, it tells you, okay, you don't know him, but in your network, Charlie Smith and Joe Smo know this guy or know this girl. They'll tell you that. So you can talk to Charlie and say, hey, Charlie, I don't know Annabelle. Can you introduce me to Annabelle? And typically, Charlie will introduce you virtually to Annabelle and say, I think the two of you should be connected. If you're in a group, and again, let's talk about HVAC professionals, all right? Say there's 2,500 people in there. Once you belong to a group, you can go up and you can look at all the members. And they're categorized by whether they're a direct link to you or not. And they'll say first, John Sonholder may be a first, which means you're linked in to me directly. Or if it says John Sonholder second, it means that you're not linked in to me, but someone that you're linked in with is there. I have had no problem to date. If I wanted to be linked in with someone in one of my groups, all I say to them is, hey, Matt, I'm in the HVAC professional group with you, and I'd like to get connected with you. And I have not been turned down yet. So it's not hard to do. You have to make a concerted effort to do that. And what I try to tell folks is that especially business people, that once you get your contact database and you work that issue, your goal should be to add or request 2 to 3 people a week for LinkedIn. And again, it's same way with Facebook. And if you're a contractor, how many people are you coming in contact with on a weekly basis that you can't ask 2 or 3 people to get LinkedIn with you from a business standpoint? And again, from a contractor standpoint, if you're out making sales calls to these houses, I mean, how hard is it to ask 2 or 3 people a week to like you? You think about that over 52 weeks. That's a lot of friends.
Now, I guess switching modes a little bit into talking about companies and how they use it. Who typically are you finding are running the social media for companies, and is that the right person, or who would you best recommend?
Well, who's running it, who's best recommending it are 2 different issues. A lot of the bigger companies, the IT departments want to either run herd or have a lot of control over. Social is and should be part of the Marcom part of it. Again, but talking with your audience, if you're a contractor, I mean, it's going to be probably the marketing guy, the sales guy, or the owner. I mean, it's a smaller group. If it's a manufacturer, it should still be in the Marcom, the portion of the Marcom PR. I mean, that's all part of the same deal, and it should be integrated. And the reason it should be in the Marcom is it should be integrated to get the maximum impact out of a direct mail program or anything else that you're doing in the marketing communication. It should be integrated with all that kind of stuff. And the IT department doesn't know to do that. The IT department is more, worried about the back end stuff, the mechanical stuff, not the messaging. Who's better prone to do that than the sales marketing function? And it usually falls into the marketing arena.
Now, as far as your traditional marketing for companies, I guess what portion of that? What's the right percentage or portion or emphasis that marketing people should be putting on it for companies? As far as what's the ideal balance? Do you think?
I don't know that there's an answer to that. I will tell you that most companies, because social has very little outside costs as far as opposed to buying a magazine ad or a TV spot or a radio spot that costs X. The outside costs are not that much. If you get some of these management tools, like we talked about, like Hootsuite or TweetDeck, they may run you $30 a month or whatever as a tool, but there's no major upfront expense to get there. The expense is in time and internally. So again, a contractor or even a major manufacturer, their allocation is going to be in time resources, from a budget standpoint. So it's not going to come out of a media budget per se. It's going to come out of the total overhead budget. How much time can we spend on doing something? So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, all the information helps. When you're taking a look at minimum involvement, I guess is there a risk of being involved too little if you don't get in, guns a-blazing kind of approach?
Well, as a matter of fact, we suggest to clients that you don't get in guns a-blazing, that you walk before you run. There are several companies, for example. What do you do? You have to have a social media plan. What do you do? Do you promote the corporation, or in a corporate standpoint, a corporation manufacturer may have half a dozen different brands that goes to commercial, goes to residential, goes to solar, goes to whatever. You can't start a social program and say, well, I'm going to promote corporate, and I want to do, a blog for each one of the brands, each one of the markets. You can't do that. Walk before you run. Get involved. Have a plan as to what you feel comfortable with. work the plan. Start off slow, and again, if you're going to do LinkedIn. Spend some time with it. Again, garbage in, garbage out, or if you don't participate, how can people be social with you if you don't talk to anybody? So walk before you run. And again, from a contractor standpoint, Facebook, LinkedIn, I think are the biggest ones. And it's amazing too that I would imagine from a contractor standpoint, the vendors that they deal with, if it's Carrier or Ream or whoever they're dealing with, those manufacturers probably have a lot of videos that are feature benefit videos as to why their products are better. Well, there's no reason why that contractor can't say I'm a Lennox distributor or I'm a XYZ distributor, and this is why I picked that brand and link them to a YouTube video. They don't have to go out and make a YouTube video. There are enough videos out there already that will help them build credibility as to who, what, where, when.
Now, if you look at from a company standpoint, who is doing social media well, would you say?
Well, there are some small companies that are doing it very well, and there are some large companies in our space. Channel Lock, which is a manufacturer of hand tools, is doing a pretty fair job, both in Facebook and in Twitter. Rigid has a pretty good integrated program. They've even on their website, they've got 3 forums going: one for the plumber, one for the professional woodworker, and one for the people who use power tools. Those are both pretty good sized companies. We have another client, Calculate Industries, for example, that is in Reno, Nevada. It's a smaller company, but they do calculators for contractors. How to monitor and quote out a roofing job or whatever. They're doing very good at what they do, but they're doing very focused things, and they're working at it. They have a plan. And again, I can't stress that enough. You should have a plan, and you should have somebody who's going to be responsible to putting content up there. But those are just 3. But there are many people doing it well. The people who are doing it poorly, you can tell very quickly because those folks don't understand social. It's just like I give the analogy of going to a party and a cocktail party, and you start talking to somebody, and the person is only talking about me, I. Those folks, the people who are talking to them, are going to walk away from them very quickly because it's all about them. And social is not about me; it's about you. What do you need? What can I do for you? And it's a whole different way of approaching things. And a lot of the traditional marketers in the business, from a manufacturing standpoint, don't like to lose control of the message. Want to control where it goes. I mean, and you just got to let go because people are going to talk about you and your product or other products. You have no control of that now. You can react to it. You can be proactive to it, but you don't have the control of the features and benefits and whatever. It's an open conversation.
So, any other lessons learned you'd like to pass on to our listeners? Obviously, the me is a very, very powerful one. Just to be able to talk about things, be helpful, be informative, and not always being out there selling. But is there anything else that you can think of?
Well, I think the thing that I kind of live by is I treat people the way I expect to be treated. I try to underpromise and overdeliver, and a lot of people have a problem with the third one that I do is that it's okay not to have all the answers. You don't have to have an answer for everything. You might be able to point somebody in the same direction, but it's okay to say I don't know. So those are my three lessons. If I can pass those on to your audience, that treat people the way you want to be treated. And I got to believe, for the most part, people want to be treated nicely.
So before we go, why don't you tell me a little bit about Sonnhalter?
Well, Sunholder, as I said up front, we're a marketing company. People know B2C, people know B2B. We trademarked the term B2T, business to tradespeople. We specialize in helping manufacturers who want to reach the professional tradesmen, whether the electricians, plumbers, HVAC guys, construction guys, and the MRO professionals who keep and maintain factories across the world. That's who we are, what we do. Our blog or our website is Sonnhalter, SONNHALTER.com. We have several white papers, market trend papers up there, and a link to our blog, which is the Tradesman Insights, that people can go to and subscribe on an RSS feed.
Great, and then to our listeners, don't worry about remembering all that. I'll post the links on the blog, so you will have that readily available there. So, what kind of success stories? Some of the things that have come out of social media in your group that you can kind of pass on.
Well, I can only speak for what we're doing. It's a major commitment for us. We've been doing it for a little over 2.5 years now. Don't set high expectations up front, because again, if any other social sale, people have to know, like, and trust you before they start doing business with you. So that takes some time in the cycle. I would say stay hard at working in the social arena. We have been, again, very successful. Our blog is the number one source of inquiries, as opposed to our website. People, again, think about this. People go to your website, they read about you, fine. There's no reason to come back. Whereas with social, there's an interaction on a daily basis as to, gee, I need to respond to that. Now, if it only happens once a week or once a month, they still see your name, your brand every week or every day. But again, they respond when it's appropriate. But our success has been we've generated a number of new clients from it over the last 3 years. Again, that's ultimately the end goal. But more importantly, we have set ourselves up in the industry as the go-to source from a manufacturing standpoint. If you're looking for a marketing firm that will help you get to the professional tradesman, we understand those folks. We understand that they sell through distribution. So we've got our niche, and social has helped us establish and define ourselves as an expert there.
Excellent. Well, anything else that you'd like to mention before we go?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, you know what, John? I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us here, and good luck to you and what you're doing.
So, thank you very much.
All right, and we're back. I'd like to thank John again for taking the time to talk with us. It was especially profound, I guess, when it was sort of the you can't see the forest for the trees moment when John said social media is about being social. What a novel concept. So, there again, get out there, talk to people, interact, network, and just get involved. Again, really, you need to have a plan to present your professional image, whether or not you're an industry expert. At least, an expert, that's a relative term. Think about it. An expert, you know more about HVAC probably than most people that you know that you don't work with. Even some of the people that you do work with, you know more about HVAC. So technically, you are an expert. Be able to present that persona online, and just talk with people. Grow. Always be growing. Always be learning. And again, just like John said, you really, learn to walk before you can run. And don't worry. I will post a bunch of links covered in this episode on the website at buildingx.co. The one thing I'd like to point out is we talked a little bit about Twitter, but I think that there is something to be said about the interaction between all the different social media sources. They all seem to be developing the same, interconnectedness, where if you tweet something about an article that you read, guess what? It gets posted right to your LinkedIn. It's fairly easy to be able to do that. If you tweet, it gets posted to your Facebook. So a lot of that is kind of interchangeable. Just take a look at it, play with it, have some fun with it. Again, you want to be able to separate your personal life from your professional life, but there's no reason why you can't congratulate your favorite sports team on a magnificent win on your professional site. So anyway, I think some of the other things that we just to wrap up here. Again, the links will be on the site. Follow me. The blog is at buildingx.co. You can find me on iTunes if you haven't already, and I think by the majority of you listening, you probably already found me there. Anybody wants to give me a shout out, a review on iTunes, I'd greatly appreciate it. I will give a personal shout out to the first person who actually posts a review of that of HVAC 360. So again, thank you so much for listening. You are a very special group, some of the elite in the HVAC industry. Whether or not you know that, you actually are. So until next time, remember, know what you build and share what you know.